each one of you present today. First of all, I would like to thank each one of you for joining this 2021 International Distance Education Congress. And I bid a very warm welcome to all the renowned speakers who took out their valuable time and joined us today to be a part of this conference. We are honored to have you all with us. This conference allows us to meet some of the brilliant minds of the field who became the keynote speakers for this occasion. With all these words, I'm extremely delighted to pronounce the first keynote speakers of this session, Professor Dr. Aissa Maiza from Djelfa University and Dr. Soumia Chakri from Setif University. The title of their speech is Activating Distance Education in Algeria Due to the Shadow of Coronavirus Reality and Prospects. Now I would like to give the floor to our speakers, Professor Dr. Maiza and Dr. Chakri.
Thank you very much. Let me first to thank the officials for this conference, to the School of Science of Social Sciences in Ankara for this important international conference. And the thanks to Dr. Yasmin to her invitation to present in this important conference. My presentation is about activating distance education in Algeria due to the shadow of coronavirus. Introduction: the Algerian state sought to implement distance education before the corona pandemic by imposing formative courses for teachers on how to set lectures, conduct conversations, develop questions and interactive and direct applications remotely, especially for new staff professors, as the formative courses were mandatory in order to install them in the position as for the staff professors before adopting the courses. So there was an incentive for the professors to accept these courses, which appears in their choice of standards. The Algerian universities started experimenting with the Opel 2, then Opel 3, all the way to the model platform, which became rich in lectures. However, it is noticed on most of the lectures that they were not activated, as they are closed on the part of the teachers after the end of the course due to the absence of students' interaction with the platform, which led to the decline of the formative courses, which became a composition without an application for it, and the situation continued until the corona pandemic. The corona pandemic swept the world, and the solution was social distancing, which led to the cessation of traditional presence education and the closure of university institutions and the centers for a period of more than 5 months, after which correspondences continued in order to activate distance education with the aim of continuing distance study and avoiding the closure of university institutions and the centers where the education system was implemented. Hybrid, i.e. education that combines distance education, in-person education with promotion, and distance education was done by adopting many methods, especially the dissemination of lectures of educational materials through dedicated platforms, followed in the way of or another by interactive of direct conversations through platforms of tools such as Google Meet, Zoom, Moodle, and others. Hence, a question arises about the extent to which the Algerian state succeeds in activating distance education in light of the corona pandemic. In order to answer this problem, it was important to present the requirements of distance education in Algerian universities and then present the reality to distance education in Algerian universities in light of the corona pandemic to reach the future prospects for the requirements of distance education Algerian universities. First, the requirements for distance education in Algerian universities. Distance education is one of the branches of e-learning in which the teacher uses electronic educational strategies through which the educational content is transferred to the student using interactive communication tools between the students and the teacher. Legal and administrative. One, human requirements. Distance learning requires a group of human cadres with qualified expertise to manage online education, such as many things. One, a professor who has qualifications, technological expert to follow up on the work of computers and the network and their maintenance, and the instructional designer to be concerned with designing and building electronic courses according to the principles and standards of approved educational design, and then presenting it on the internet. Other thing, network technician specialist in order to create a website for the educational institution on a local network. Other thing, student. Distance education cannot be imposed in circumstances in which the student is ignorant of how to turn on the computer. Students must be prepared and qualified to switch from the traditional system to distance education. Number two, physical requirements. Computers as a basic physical component, internet networks, technical support, and educational programs and applications as software components that support the educational process. Administrative requirements. There must be a strategic plan to adopt distance education in which students will be registered remotely and their attendance at remote lectures and applications, with the implementation to the electronic study plan, electronic follow-up of lessons, and electronic calendar. Other thing, legal requirements. In the absence of the legal rule, it will not be obligatory to follow distance education, and therefore it must be strict legal rules and require following the method of distance education. Otherwise, resistance to change will ignore, it will end. There must be legal rules that determine the type of education in university institutions in order to oblige students, professors, and all employees to this type of education. Second part in my presentation, the reality of distance education in Algerian universities. During the period of the corona pandemic, the Algerian state tried to harness many means of support to ensure the continuity of the dynamism of pedagogical activity and research in the development and modernization of patterns of education and training, including the method of distance education. Lifelong training as distance education was an opportunity for employees to develop their competencies at the university level, especially specialized trainings for the benefit of employees and the frameworks of economic institutions. But the absence of infrastructure, means, and modern technologies for professors, students, and administration. Many students do not have computer equipment, and the problem is also raised in the internet and is poor coverage of many areas in which students are located, which loses the process of interaction between the professor and the students. And this problem was raised especially for students of the first and the second years compared to the third and the master. So the ministry decided to use the model platform for distance education, but we thought relying on evaluation through electronic interaction. But the adoption of the model platform so that lessons and structure are poured into it in Word or PDF or PPT. Or PPT format, which led to summarizing lessons, hours of lectures, and even summaries placed on the platform, which was not reflected negatively on the students. The distance education process adopted by Algeria was not based on a distance education strategy, but it was a plan to save the university season as a result of the exceptional circumstances imposed by the corona pandemic. Study and solutions must be found in order to enable students to use computers and the high flow of the internet, especially since the Algerian state has adopted the grouping system in university quarters, such as equipping two halls for each year at the college level and at the university neighborhood level in order to enable students to take lessons and lectures on the platform. In view of the aforementioned negatives, the new university year 2021-2022 was opened with the adoption of hybrid education, where in-person education was adopted for basic subjects and distance education for exploratory subjects, which will be applied for the evaluation, which in turn will be remote in exploratory subjects and in attendance in subjects. The basic, well, that's the ministry did in order to avoid the deficiencies that existed. Finally, the future prospects for distance education Algerian universities. Today, the Algerian University is facing a great challenge to develop the national system of higher education, especially in the absence of infrastructure, means, and modern technologies, especially for students. So legal and political solutions must be found. One, the Algerian experience must be evaluated in exceptional circumstances. Number two, pedagogical accompaniment for students. Number three, and the last one, it is necessary to develop a complete strategy based on the evaluation of the Algerian experience in higher education in order to study the opportunities and challenges and provide feedback for the proper and correct application of distance education. This is my presentation about this topic, and I give you my thanks other time for you and for University of Social Sciences in Ankara, who invite me to present and give my presentation in this important international conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Maiza and Dr. Chakri, for this enlightening speech. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your valuable words. Now we take a break, and when we come back, our next keynote speaker will be Professor Farhadi.
Thank you. How time? 5 minutes?
Yes. Exactly. I think it will start at, let me see. Just a minute. Tamam, diğer hocanın başlangıç saati. Kaç? Professor Farhadi will start his speech at 11:15, I think. And we have time for questions, if there are any.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.